Music. I've talked about music on this channel before. I'm going to talk a little bit about music again. And you can tell, I'm kind of a fan. I had both flags. I had the white flag and the red one. I'll be dipped if I know where the white one is. It might be one of those mini items that's kind of got lost in the midst of two moves that I've gone through. Um, so, as a music fan, I've realized that the bands that I like pretty much hate me. But this is supposed to be the year that they make it up to me. Rammstein has not done a brand new album since 2009. That was Liebes für Alle. Liebes für Alle. Anyways, love is for everyone. Love is there for everyone. Anyways, it was a great album. Fantastic. If I had known that it was going to be 10 years before the next album, I might have cherished it a little bit more. Um, and might have just, listened to one song a week to try to stretch out the amount of time to react to the album. But all kidding aside, it's been a long time. Now, that's nothing compared to what Tool fans have been going through. And of course, I love Tool as well, so I've been going through hell with Tool since, what is it, 04, 05, 06, 07. It's been a while. And both Tool and Rammstein, it's been the same thing. It's been a lot of stops and starts. A lot of, we're going to be recording an album. No, we decided we hate each other. We're not going to be recording an album. It feels like with Tool that it's Maynard, and then there's the rest of the band. With Rammstein, it feels like there's a bunch of guys who just all really kind of don't like each other after all these years together, and they make it work because they know that when they make it work, it's kind of magic. And it is. And of the bands that I've heard in my lifetime, they are my two favorites. Now, one idea that I've had that I thought would be fun is that I my favorite is Rammstein. I lean towards Rammstein in everything. There was a point in my life where that was all I listened to. I didn't listen to other music because it wasn't Rammstein, so it was tough. And the only band that could get in there that I might listen to for a while was Tool. And and then I'd break, and then I'd start listening to all of my old Queen and Zeppelin and all this other stuff, and I would avoid Rammstein for like a couple of months, and then I'd dive right back into it. I had song list on my old desktop computer that I just loaded up, and I just let her play, blast it, and do whatever I was going to do for the day. Whether it was just um, hanging out in the living room and enjoying music or whatever I was going to do. Yeah, it was fun listening to Rammstein and enjoying their music as it was. And I raised kids who loved Rammstein as well. And so when they toured, first tour of North America, I went and saw them in Edmonton, for which both of my kids were upset they couldn't go. So they came back a year later. They went to Vancouver, and I took the kids as well, and it was magic. It was absolutely magic. It was fantastic. They played all of our favorite songs, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Tool is an experience that I share with Yvonne, with my wife. Now we throw on Tool. So if I can't come up with something that we agree on to listen to, which is sometimes the case, I know if I throw Tool on that she's not going to complain. Rammstein, she won't complain either. The difference is I prefer Rammstein, she prefers Tool. I'm more excited about the upcoming Rammstein album, although I will admit I'm very curious about Tool. Here's where it's the same. Rammstein at recent concerts they've had, and I'm talking the last couple of years, they've warmed up the crowd. The opening song has been called Ram 4. It is not on any album. It is a really, really fun song. It is very danceable. It's very fun. And the album consists of basically the names of every song they've ever done. I was watching a video on that today, and my favorite comment was somebody said, this basically proves that Rammstein could publish a song of a grocery list, and people would listen to it. I would love that grocery list. I would counter with Tool has an album, or has a song on, I'm pretty sure it's on Lateralis, that's a cake recipe in German, and it is worth listening to. It's fantastic, and it sounds so evil and so really, really strong, and like it's this great military. It's just cake, and that's the wonderful thing. Both bands, they're tough and they sound mean and they kind of look mean when you see them on stage, and yet when you know the meaning behind some of the songs, they don't take themselves too seriously. Maynard never takes anything seriously from the looks of it. His vocals absolutely, and the albums he does, but he has been trolling social media for years about a new album. One of his favorite things is to say that he's being replaced in Tool by Sammy Hagar, that he's quit the band and Sammy Hagar's taken over. So where Tool fans are scared is the new album's supposed to come out next month, which is April, just in time for April Fools. And there's some concern that on April 1st they'll drop an album, which won't be new. But mentioned Ram 4, there's a song. It's barely a song. It's a song in between songs that Tool has played at concerts called Descending. And it is hypnotic. It is all instrumental. And it feels like it's building into its own song. It's about 5 minutes of build into its own song. And then it stops and they go into something else. So the thought process for a lot of Tool fans who we have nothing else to do but to look for new material from Tool, what happens is we take a look at that and we go, okay, this might be a new song that they're testing out. The problem is, since Tool does so much work in between songs and there's so much improv and there's so many different things they do, it may just be a segue from one song to the next, and it may not be a song on the new album. Rammstein doesn't do that. The one thing I'll say for Rammstein, I've never seen them in concert. It's worth it. Now, it seems to be different at the open air compared to a stadium situation like I've had where I've been in an arena and it's closed, and it does seem to be a different experience. Open air, it's a very typical standard. They have the fire, of course, but what I've seen of the performances in arenas like the two that I've seen, every song feels like a brand new show. Every song feels like a completely different show than the song before it. And it is a unique experience that I mean, I've seen Slipknot. We've gone and seen Perfect Circle. We've seen a lot of different acts that have these really big shows. Okay, these really different kind of shows. But Rammstein, every song feels like a completely different, on its own performance where all of the lights, the pyros, smoke machines, whatever, it's all completely different with every song. And it's unique to that song in that if you see a concert of Rammstein's 10 years from now, as opposed to 10 years ago, they will likely have a lot of the same visuals for that song when they play it again. Asha Zu Asha, you have the red smoke. That's as an example. Mind Tile, you have Flake being thrown in the pot and feigning being boiled alive by Till. So I'm very excited about the upcoming albums. But here's the question. Do Tool fans believe the new album's coming? Because what I've seen a lot online is they don't. We don't. We don't want to believe. And as a Rammstein fan, I want to believe it, but I'm halfway convinced that as it gets ready to release, Till's going to go, nah, I'm not happy with this. I don't like it. And they'll have to go back and remix it all over again because, again, with Tool, it feels like you've got Maynard, who's been... I'm not going to say he's throwing band members under the bus in recent posts because it just feels like he's trolling us. So I don't actually believe he's throwing Danny Carey and the rest of the band under the bus. But at the same time, you wonder. You wonder if there is actual tension between the members of Tool or if Maynard's just trolling everybody. With Rammstein, I never wonder. I have every reason to believe these band members, at the end of some of their days in studio, they hate one another. And there's arguments. I was reading an interview with Richard Kirsch, who, amazing guitarist, said that they fight over everything. There is nothing in a song they can't argue about, right down to every minor snare. So basically everything that you listening to an album might not notice, they'll argue about it. And so that's why it's harder for Rammstein to get it together. And this is where both of the bands I cheer for are kind of the same. They're perfectionists. They're 110% perfectionists. They want everything done perfect. If it's not perfect, they don't want to release it. So there are times where you think to yourself, there's probably a whole bunch of unreleased material from this band, stuff they put together and then they threw it aside and said, forget it. Probably. It's very, very likely. It's sort of like how Maynard had a project with Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and it was a collaborative project that just never came to light. They never actually released the album. Eventually, I think there's 2 songs that ended up on a Pussifer album from the stuff they threw together. But you got to think there's a bunch of other stuff that'll never see the light of day, because they look at it and go, "That's not good enough for me. I'm not releasing it publicly." And as fans, we go, "Can we hear it? Can we at least hear it and decide whether or not it's worthy of us?" And Maynard's answer would be no. And Rammstein, much the same thing. You get the feeling there's a whole bunch of stuff that ends up being left in a trash bin somewhere and they don't release it. A good example, I'll end on this. Good example with Rammstein. They wanted to get out of their contract with their record company. They wanted to get out. They wanted to start their own thing. They wanted to get away. They felt that it wasn't helping them. They needed to release an album. They threw together a bunch of B-sides. They remixed some stuff they'd recorded before, and that album became Rosenrot. Now, Rosenrot is the weakest album of Rammstein's albums, but it still produced some fantastic songs. Hilfmir, or Heathmere, which is amazing. I know I'm going to butcher that. Hifmir is the way it sounds in the album, Hifmir. Spring, which is absolutely fantastic. That's the one that Benzene comes off of, Man gegen Man, and Rosenrot, the title track, which is absolutely fantastic. And Fire and Wasser, there's some very good songs in it. There's some weak ones as well. Don't Die Before I Do is, I don't listen to it. I hear the opening chord and I'm like, and next. But that was an album they released so they could get out of that contract and move on to the next. And that shows that even the B-sides of Risa Risa, which is what Rosenrot basically is, still better than most of the albums that other bands would throw together. And it reaffirmed that they were my favorite band. And they've been my favorite band since the first time I saw Du Hast. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, when do these albums actually drop? Because Rammstein is supposed to be next month. Tool, it could be May. That would be fantastic. 2 albums to memorize within a month of each other. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.